Hi, and welcome to my additional videos to help you in your calligraphy journey. On this video, I'm going to focus on contrast. How much contrast do we apply, levels of contrast, where to apply contrast, and different types of contrast for different look and feels. So first of all, talk about the materials I'm using. So I'm currently using walnut ink, and I purchase walnut crystals and create the ink, which is currently quite dark. Then I normally use an oblique pen holder and very flexible pointed metallic nib called Hand 101. All of this is, like you can see, so messy from working. So regardless if you're using an oblique pen holder or a straight pen holder, regardless if you're a right-hander or left-hander, you are going to face the same type of questions that you need to ask yourself is how much pressure do I want to apply in my writing? And do I want a lot of pressure or not pressure at all? Or I want an interrupted type of pressure as well. Now, what I'm using at the moment in here are just a very also used calligraphy guidelines. If you need or want calligraphy guidelines for copperplate calligraphy and other types of calligraphy, you can follow the link on my bio on Instagram, and you'll find a tab that says blank calligraphy guidelines. It will take you to my Substack. So after subscribing to my email newsletters, you will get an automatic email from Substack, and you can access to the hyperlink and download the calligraphy guidelines. If you don't find the email, please check your spam or junk folder. Let's go. So, okay. In here, you have the example of a letter F, and you see the amount of pressure that I actually have applied. So let's go in a little bit more. Okay. So in here, I'm going to do a demo on different levels of contrast, and it's not right or wrong, it's just a personal choice. So whatever you feel more comfortable with and whatever the look and feel of your work that you want to obtain. So we have learned that when we go up and when we go down, we apply different types of pressure. If you're a total beginner, please go to the Intro to Copperplate Calligraphy, because this is for intermediate students. So I'm going up and applying very little pressure. Let's go deep in the ink again. I'm going up and I'm going down and applying the same amount of pressure. If I create the entire word, for example, mint, and I'm gonna work in the same way and trying to work with my hand so that I don't apply pressure, because I'm doing this for such a long time that it's really hard to change what I'm used to doing. So in here, although I try to not apply any pressure, okay? This is what, with a ballpoint pen or a fine liner, this will be called a monoline. So basically, a monoline is a type of a stroke or type of word that does not have contrast. Now, I want to obtain contrast, but I want to very much curate the amount of contrast. So by doing so, I'm going to be very, very gentle. Let's move the page again. Very, very gentle and apply very little amount of pressure. So I create the same word again, but I'm consciously looking for a low level of contrast. And that is how, controlling the pen. For a lot of people, this will be enough contrast. For a lot of the students, this will be a very good amount of contrast. They are looking for a very, very thin and delicate look and feel. So low pressure means low contrast. If I repeat the same again, of course, I'm going to create something that it is very, very the opposite. So I'm going to curate a very high amount of contrast. You might want to keep this type of contrast for a long text, a long letter, a long piece, and then use high contrast for your title so that you are creating hierarchy levels. And so again, going up. And you can see how the same tool is giving me a really different look and feel. For me, there is no right or wrong. It's just what you think works best for the piece that you are working on, okay? So it's very obvious the level of contrast that we have in here. Now, there is more ways we can modify contrast. So there is placement now. So if I create a letter E, and I'm gonna use now 2 units instead of 1 unit. And letter E, it's going up, very thin. I go up for the second time, and I go around. That's what I would classify as a low contrast. If I do this again, low to medium contrast. If I go again, and then I'm very, very intentional about the level of contrast. Of course, you can see the big difference between moderate contrast and high contrast in here. Okay, let's go to a new page. Sorry, a new line. Okay, here. I'm gonna be marking the X height so you know where I'm sitting on the grid. Okay, I'm currently using 2 units so that you see the movements clearer. And I repeat the same action. And now I'm gonna go up, thin, and go up again, thin, and only apply pressure on the top half of the guideline and release pressure going down. Okay. Now I'm gonna repeat the same movement, and I'm gonna only apply pressure on the second half or bottom half of the X height. In here, I couldn't control myself because my brain is so wired to apply pressure. Okay, let's do it again. So I'm going up, and I'm going up again, and apply pressure only on the second half. This might not be very obvious of what is going on at the moment, but it will be very obvious once you have a longer word, and then you apply the same principles across the entire word, and then you can see what's going on in here. I can also apply what I call an interrupted type of pressure. So I'm going up thin, I'm going up again, I apply pressure, release, apply pressure for the second time, and exit. So you see what is going on in here is that obviously we have a thicker stroke that interrupts the pressure and a thicker stroke that interrupts the pressure again. Again, the most visual way to see this in place, in context, is actually by writing a long word. So we can write minimum, for example, and apply the same principles and see the look and feel that we obtain. So I'm going up, and I'm going to be applying the same idea for every word. And I'm still using 2 units for the X height. And you see that the space between the letters is quite narrow. So I'm translating the same width inside the counters to the space between the letter forms, down and down. I go up again, and I keep pressing and lifting. And I have the second I. And I go again for the M. And you see now how I'm creating a very interesting pattern with my writing. I keep going. The challenge here is not to make spelling mistakes. last M. Going up. And exit. Yeah, there is no spelling mistakes, which normally there is. This is so uniform and so similar to each other that you can see it's hard to read. I mean, the word itself is not helping because the word itself has many, many letters that are the same or similar, like in the case of the N and in the case of the U, which is the same letter but rotated 180 degrees. So this is what you can actually do by interrupting the amount of pressure. It is really interesting if you want to modify different levels of pressure to obtain emphasis on specific words. So maybe the sizes of your words are the same, but just the amount of pressure is completely different. And by that, you will create different levels of attention. I hope this video was very helpful. If you want to check more videos in this series called Copperplate Variations, you will have explanations on the meaning of ductus, examples on ligatures, examples of what it means ratio, and variations of ratio. Thank you very much, and leave me a comment if you have any more questions you want to get answered. Thank you.